Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Today, I will use two maps for this update on the Ukrainian front. One is going to be a live map, and the other one is going to be just a general map of Ukraine, so we know who's who, what's what, and where the hostilities occur. And I will start with the general map right here, so we know where the Russians are. This brick-like color is where the Russians already occupied. The purple right here is where they used to at the beginning of the invasion and where they were pushed back by the Ukrainians. Now, some names, some terms. Here is Chernihiv Oblast, just so you know when I'm going to use the article talking about the oblasts. I'm going to start talking about the Chernihiv Oblast and go down here into the Sumy Oblast and down a little bit east here to the Kharkiv Oblast, then Luhansk, Donetsk, and then go down south to Zaporozhye Oblast and then end up with Kherson. Now, the offensive of the Russian military or the troops is along all this front right here. Nothing in Chernihiv, nothing in Sumy, and a little bit here in Liman and in this area, in the Luhansk, Liman area. So, in Bakhmut, our whole front here is going to be according to the articles I found, this is where the entire Russian offensive occurs, along the entire front. Now I have this map, and this is a very sensitive map because it just jumps like crazy. But this is the area where the war actually occurs. So again, it's the same kind of map. It's just we're going to start talking about here the Chernihiv area. Then we go down to Sumy. Then we go back to lower. There's Chernihiv right here, Sumy right here. Then you go to Krematorsk and Izum, Kharkiv Oblast. So the offensive actually happens here in this area, Kupiansk, Liman, this right here, and then you have lower, which is going to be Bakhmut at Bakhmut direction, and then this is where the Russians, according to some articles I found, they broke the front. So that means the Ukrainian defensive lines were broken. Here, no, not so. And here just shelling. So now you know kind of where things occur. I'm going to go over this article, which comes from Ukrinform from February 15th, 2023. War update. Ukrainian forces hit 6 enemy ammunition depots to electronic warfare systems. I have to remind you that in Bakhmut, I covered it yesterday, the Russians generally did not occupy the heart of Bakhmut, according to Ukrainians, but they generally not occupied. That means they are there, but they're fighting. And sometimes they are in that center, sometimes they're not. Definitely they have some part of Bakhmut and they're trying to encircle it completely. So, in past 24 hours, Ukraine's missile and artillery units have hit 1 Russian command post, 2 enemy personnel clusters, 6 ammunition depots, and 2 electronic warfare systems. Ukraine's Air Force launched 8 strikes on enemy personnel and military equipment clusters. This relevant statement was made by General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russian troops launched 2 missile strikes on the Donetsk region's civil infrastructure and 3 air strikes. Additionally, the enemy opened fire and launched multiple launch rocket systems 68 times, namely on civilian objects in Kherson and Mykolaiv. This is down south. So they did 68 times in the Kherson and Mykolaiv. Now this is right here, this area. Kherson and Mykolaiv is a little bit, let's say, north of Kherson. So I'll go back to this here. The threat of military missile and air attacks is persisting all over Ukraine, according to General Staff. Making attempts to establish full control over the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, these are, as I said, right here. Donetsk and Luhansk right here, or go on this map is easier. Luhansk, Donetsk areas. Russian troops continue focusing efforts on conducting offensive actions on Kupiansk, Liman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Sakatarsk. So these are all here. So if here is Bakhmut area, right here Bakhmut direction, at Avdiivka. So this is Bakhmut Avdiivka. This should be Liman, Kupiansk Liman. So this right here, this is the front. On the other map, which is easier, is this area right here. Now, this is an older map, maybe a few months ago, but this is where the fight occurs right here in this area. The main offensive operation, where in some, as I said, articles I found, the Russians were able to break the Ukrainian defensive lines. On the past day, Ukrainian forces have repelled enemy attacks near more than 20 settlements, including the Kharkiv region and the Luhansk regions, and they give you a few settlements over there, Bakhmut, Ivanivska, and all this, in Vuhledar as well. So in Volyn, Polisia, Sieviersky, and Slobozansky directions. These are the ones right here, if I remember correctly, in the north. Right, yes, right here at Sivershchinia and Slabozonanchubabu. So this is in where this article starts talking about. So that's, as I said, starts north and goes east and then south. In the Volyn, Polisia, Siversky, and Slobozansky directions, no enemy offensive grouping were detected. The enemy continues launching mortar and artillery strikes on the positions of Ukrainian forces, as well as settlements situated close to the contact line. Russian attack affected that Chernihiv region. So Chernihiv region is the one right here. So on this is probably here somewhere right here. If I put on that, that's the same one, and the other one, let me go back. As I said, this site is very, very touchy. It's in the north, but it just seems like these guys are not cooperating with. So anyway, this is Chernihiv Oblast. All right, so in the enemy continues launching mortar and artillery strikes on the positions of Ukrainian forces, as well as settlements situated close to the contact line. Russia's attack affected the Chernihiv Oblast. And then we go here, and in the Kupiansk and Liman directions, so Liman is right here, so this is the Kupiansk Liman direction, so from here they come back down here. Russian invaders used tanks, mortars, and artillery to attack more than 20 settlements, including Kharkiv region, and they give you some settlements, and Donetsk region. Now we go down into the Bakhmut direction. Russian occupiers launched mortar and artillery strikes on over 25 settlements. And then in Avdiivka and Shakatarsk direction, the Russian troops used tanks, mortars, and artillery to attack over 30 settlements again. So now we're right here in this area. In Zaporozhye direction, this is even southern. This next one right here, Zaporozhye. This area, this is Zaporozhye Oblast, so here. Russian invaders opened fire on over 20 settlements, namely the Zaporozhye regions, and they give you about 10 settlements. In Kherson direction, which is the most south, if you ignore Crimea, so it's right here on this direction. Russian occupiers launched artillery strikes on the outskirts and the city of Kherson, as well as over 30 settlements, including the Kherson regions, and gives you about 9 settlements. The enemy continues to suffer losses near the Simferopol district, Krasnozorka. In order to conceal the number of those killed on the front, Russian invaders incinerate corpses. Okay, now they try to create the image of the Nazi concentration camps. But hey, maybe that occurs, and sometimes what are they going to do with corpses that cannot be identified, and possibly Ukrainian corpses if you advance. Yeah, I don't know the exact procedure. Up to 10 military vehicles are continuously waiting in line near a local crematorium. These trucks are used to transport the bodies of Russian servicemen and mercenaries. Civilians are not provided with cremation services. When I hear mobile anything over here, like crematorium, or if I hear anything, or labs. That reminds me of that big lie coming from the United States intelligence services, if you remember, including including poor Colin Powell, the general, showing up in front of the United Nations and exposing his evidence of the Iraqi or Saddam's mobile laboratory of all kind of chemicals used for chemical weapons that they found. Yeah. So this is when I hear this, I need more evidence than this guy's telling me and showing me a picture of a truck, which I saw in another article, and I was looking, okay, where are they? I mean, if you know about them, you have them only verbally. If you tell me verbally, no, I don't take it that way. Sorry. I saw yesterday, I don't know, 50 angels and 29 UFOs. It doesn't work that way. I mean, for some it works, but for me it doesn't, and I hope it doesn't work for you either. Someone's word should not count, especially when that someone doesn't have a how should I put it, a credibility rating above, I don't know, 50% at least. So I don't think these guys have it. Why? For the obvious reasons, and those are, it's a war over there. You try to win using most means necessary that we are allowed to know about. That's the word. I mean, obviously they are using both sides, all sides, including the NATO, including Russia, because these are the two sides. Ukraine is part of one side, and its territory and nation is used to fight the other side. And it's not about the Russians per se. It's about much more than that. If Russia falls, and I'm not trying to make it sound like oh my God, the sky will fall here, like in 2008. Remember the so-called bailout, too big to fall? They say, well, if we don't bail out these weasels companies that are not profitable, but they have a lot of money to spread around among people high ups, the sky will fall and everything is going to be destroyed. We're not going to have water, anything like that. So you got to pay up, which they did, which eventually we do, and our children will do in the future, and grandchildren and so on. So the same here. You got to establish trust, and in a war, this is what it is. Trust, not really, especially when you tell what's going on over there. I'm reading this general front assessment coming from the Ukrainians, knowing that everything that's over there could be not true, or everything they say could be true, because it depends on what fits their narrative. And the same thing with the Russians. If I use a Russian article or articles or whatever statements coming from the Russian Ministry of Defense, the same way. You gotta be cautious and try to look from different angles. Now, when I come here and I read this article with a front update, I read about 5, 6, 7 articles from different media outlets, obviously the free world, some from Russia, and try to see if these guys are, nothing happened in Bakhmut. Yeah, let me check out. And when I check 2 or 3 other sources independent of one another, apparently meaning that I have no knowledge if, let's say, Agence France Presse communicates with, let's say, BBC, or they have the same narrative because they have the same interest. And we know these guys are not objective because they have to make a certain kind of narrative. And if that would be the case, to just be reporting the news, then you would hear bad things about Ukraine as well and good things about the other side as well, because I can't and I will not believe, I refuse to believe that one person or one group or one side is all good and the other group or person is all bad. That is if we talk about in religious terms, and I'm not talking here about religious terms because we talk about a war, not about God and heavens and hell and Satan. So be careful, read as much from as many angles as possible, try to find obviously the credibility of those channels of information, and be mindful, of course, that we all, try to figure things out from whatever sources we might be able to be allowed to have, actually. because certain things you don't get to because some defenders and protectors of the truth are blocking certain kind of information. So you have to go. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.